because we care about the future of our city. We want to call on Sid Ryan, President of Ontario Federation of Labour, that represents over 1 million unionized workers across Ontario. Give it up, Sid Ryan.
Sisters and brothers, friends, citizens of Toronto, community activists, community organisations that have joined us here today, I want to thank you for coming out by the thousands to send a signal to the millionaire mayor who's fashioned himself as Toronto's new czar, who tries to dictate policies without taking it into the council chambers for democratic debate. I want to thank you by coming out in such large numbers, because I spoke to the media a few minutes ago and the reporter said, Sid, I've covered many demonstrations in this square over the years, and I've never seen the square as full as it is today. Two police officers are walking by, and they said there's at least 10,000 people on the square here today. Thank you very much, sisters and brothers, for showing up in such large numbers. And you're doing that because you're feeling it in the pit of your stomach that something is not right about the way that this city is being governed right now. You have a mayor, as I say, that fashions himself as a spokesperson of the working class. This millionaire mayor pretends that somehow he's your spokesperson. So let's examine the record to date. Let us take a look at the policies he's so far implemented. And who have they hurt, these policies? Who has been impacted the most? Well, let me talk about the 40,000 commuters that travel across the Finch corridor on a daily basis, trying to get into work, having to take sometimes 2 and 3 buses, sometimes sitting on those buses for 65 or 75 minutes to make it to a subway station. That's the working class of this city, my friends. That's the first group of people that this mayor attacked. And then he said to all the car owners in the suburbs, we'll make sure we get the cyclists and we'll make sure we get the light rapid transit systems out of your way. Also, we'll eliminate the vehicle transfer tax. So guess who's now paying for that? Straight away he implemented user fees for our community services, for our recreation centres. My friends, it's the working class that uses those swimming pools. It's the working class that uses those particular facilities, those recreational facilities. That's who he attacked when he went after the vehicle transportation tax. And then he decided he was going to get ideological about sanitation and the collection of garbage. And you've heard from Brian a few moments ago, these workers are the absolute salt of the earth, doing a job that's not the most pleasant job in the world, but they do it day in and day out. And I can tell you, as being the president of that organisation of CUPE for 17 years, I can tell you about those sanitation workers. I can tell you how they've got a shortened work life. I can tell you how they get injuries on a daily basis, musculoskeletal injuries, back injuries, that forces them out of the workplace at an early age. And yes, we've worked hard to get them a modest pension, and somehow they get pilloried as being part of a gravy train. For God's sakes, workers earning a modest wage and a modest income are being branded somehow as part of the gravy train. I can tell you, my friends, in the Toronto Housing Corporation, when those Belgian chocolates were being handed out, when the weekend spas were being dished out, I can tell you it wasn't the plumber that was going out for a spa on the weekend. It wasn't the caretakers that were eating the Belgian chocolates. It wasn't the electricians that were feeding at the trough. Oh no, it was the private sector bureaucrats that were hired by City Hall are the ones that were feeding at the trough. So, my friends, let us put this in perspective and say to Rob Ford that yes, you are going to get some pushback from all of the community activists and the organisations and indeed the labour movement. We expect respect for our workers in this city. We expect respect for the TTC workers who are being pilloried in the media, people taking photographs of their cell phones. Does anybody remember Rob Ford sitting at City Council fast asleep? Fast asleep! Yes, he was! Was he pilloried? Did the Toronto Sun run all these stories about Rob Ford when he's meant to be looking after the taxpayers' interest, spending $6 billion a year, and there he is snoring away at City Council? I ask you, where was the pillorying of that individual? But no, let's go after the TTC workers as somehow they're lazy bums. Let's denigrate our TTC workers. That's disgraceful, sisters and brothers, and that's the agenda we gotta fight. And I'm so delighted that so many of you have come out here today to take on that fight, because it is so important that we have a livable city, that we have a democratic debate in the council chambers. And I'm going to say to the councillors, for God's sakes, don't run away from this fight. Take heart. Take a look at Wisconsin. Take a look at the magnificent 14. The Congress people who stood up to the bully boy down in Wisconsin. We can do it here in this city, my friends. Don't let anybody tell us that we've got to accept this agenda without pushing back and fighting back. So, my friends, I'm delighted that you come out in such large numbers. Eventually, we'll walk over to City Hall and we'll deliver this message to Rob Ford and say to councillors, stand together with the community. Stand with the social activists, the community activists, the housing activists. Stand with OPSU and CUPE and steelworkers and teachers. That's who we are, my friends. We make up the majority in this city. Let's send that signal loud and clear. Thank you very much, my friends.